Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
Gene Trowbridge and Jonathan Ney, founding partners of the top syndication firm, Trowbridge Law Group, LLP, have a legal team with over 50 years of combined experience in real estate syndication and the practice of real estate securities law. Over this time, Gene and his partners in several past firms and currently have helped clients raise close to $5 billion in offerings by empowering entrepreneurs to raise capital legally. To learn more about Trowbridge Law Group, LLP, visit their website at trowbridgelawgroup.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Hadar Orkibi. Thanks for being on the show, Hadar.
Thank you for having me, Whitney. It's a pleasure being on the Real Estate Syndication Show.
Hadar is an international commercial real estate investor with a focus on multifamily. He is an asset manager with MFI Holding and a co-facilitator and coach with MIH Mastermind.com. Hadar, thank you again. I know you and I were just talking. We were able to meet in Nashville, I think, at a conference a couple of years ago. I know you've been very active in the commercial real estate space in the States. And just so the listeners know, he's in New Zealand right now making this happen. And just pleasure to have him on the show. His specialty day in and day out is a part of this business that's so important. And I know as a listener, I hope your ears are perked up and you're ready to listen to some just expert tips that he has on what he does day in and day out. But Hadar, I'm going to let you spill the beans and tell them what you do. But give us a little more history on, how you got into the syndication business specifically and in the States and from such a distance away and what you do in the business, what your specialty and superpower is.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so on a nutshell, I've been in real estate for nearly 2 decades. And my market, which I invest in New Zealand, matured so much in the last 10 years that although my portfolio gained a lot of equity and is reasonably cash flowing, any new addition to the portfolio, if I want to grow my asset and grow my income here in New Zealand, it's challenging because the cap rates have compressed significantly. The market's mature to be more like a market like Boston, LA, San Francisco. So getting into a new opportunity is challenging. As an American citizen, which I am, my mother was born in Chicago, I started researching the US market. And about 4 years ago, I started investing in the US. I started with smaller multifamily, triplex and fourplexes, just to get my feet wet, just to get feeling for the transaction, feeling to the teams on the ground, to the third-party property managers that I wanted to use. And gradually, I started building my own buy and hold portfolio and taking down larger multifamily. Of course, through the process, I got myself educated. In my case, I chosen to go with Jake and Gino, which now I also coach for them a little bit as well, and gradually built a portfolio. So the US offers a great, unique opportunity that it's very unique to the US, having the ability to buy in one transaction multiple doors. And when I'm saying multiple, we can go up to a few hundreds of doors in one transaction. This is quite unique. This is not something that you can find anywhere around the world. In New Zealand, in Australia, in many other countries, maximum you can buy, maybe it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units that owned by one person. So the ability to scale the business, is much more easier and available in the US.
Nice. Well, Hadar, I'm grateful again to have you on the show, and I look forward to just hearing how you, fulfill that role of asset management, right? On a day-to-day basis, especially from, so far away. And could you, why don't we just dive right in there and tell us what you do on a day-to-day basis, in that role, and let's just jump into some tips that you have, things you've learned, about managing these properties.
Absolutely. Our work, as an asset manager is pretty much to to keep the property manager, the third-party property manager, accountable. In my case, I use a third-party property manager, and I really need to monitor that they are following the vision that we have for the property. For example, some of our roles will be make sure that the property manager is staying on track with the repositioning plan, with the management plan that we set at the front end when we want to take a property from one place to another and improve the demographic or improve the property. The other thing is we need to really keep them accountable for the service they're providing. So we really want to make sure they are doing what they say they're going to do, but they are following our plan and following the way we want it run. It's very, very important. A lot of property manager would have the way they're doing things, but you might have to do things a little bit differently, and you need to kind of educate them and make sure that you keep them accountable. Typically, I stay in touch with my third-party property manager on a once a week basis. If we have a project which is going on, if we're turning out unit, or if there is something larger that is going on, like for example a drainage or replacing some roof or something that we're using a third-party contractor to do, then I will be communicating. It could be regularly, even every day or two. It depends what there is to really do and what there is to discuss. But very, very important to be on to them and make sure that they are doing it. The other thing that as an asset manager I'm doing on a regular basis is to keep the contract services accountable and on budget. So, for example, when you take an asset on, you really need to make sure that you review the existing contract services, and perhaps you can save cost by on a yearly basis, monitoring the new renewal of those services, whether it's a garbage removal, whether it's the lawn care company, whether there is a laundry service agreement that needs to be looked at. Very, very important to monitor all the contract services that you're implementing, or maybe even taking over when you take over the property. These could be cost saving, but you also don't want to have the cost creep scenario when the cost of a particular service goes up on you every year and affects your profit, affects your net operating income. So that's a role of the asset manager, because the property manager will not go and shop around for insurance, for example, for you, or shop around for another company to do some of the contract services for you. Another very important point, which is crucial, is keeping the unit turns and capital expenditure budget on track. Some of the contractor that I'm using to turn on the unit, whether it's a unit turn when you want to get an apartment rent ready after a tenant vacated, or whether it's really unit turn from taking an apartment which is in original condition. For example, latest acquisition, we had a building from the 1980s that everything was original, and we had to spend between $5,000 to $7,000 a door. So whether you're keeping budget on that, or just keeping budget on painting and getting it rent ready from tenant replacement point of view, you really need to make sure that everything is on budget. Some of the contractors that I'm using are subcontractor that I employ. So I basically introduce them into the management company in terms of, hey, I'm getting the surface renew guys coming in on Friday to do the bath insert, the bathtubs, the vanities, and the countertops, and I'm getting the flooring in the following day, while they, for example, on the outset, engage with their painters, because in that case, they have a very good painters that do a great job. They spray all the whole place, they prime the kitchen cabinet, and they paint them white and do a good job, and I could not find a better price. So we need to jiggle between the ability to use the third-party property manager's resources and the resources that we can perhaps bring from the outside. So if you look at the pyramid, or if you like, on what we call the asset management plan or a path, you'll have the asset manager sitting on the top, then you'll have two branches coming down. One will be the property manager, and one will be the subcontractors that I bring from the other side. And then there are other different connections underneath. But in some cases, there are some work.
Did you say that you would specifically employ some of the subcontractors, like in your company?
So at this point, we don't employ them in terms of they're not working for us, but we commission them to do the job. We're not letting a lot of people who invest from out of area, whether you're in the US or not, they will rely on the property management, on the third-party management to get some bids for the job or to oversee the work that needs to be done and introduce contractors from their experience. Because more often than not, if they are established in the marketplace, they will have existing relationships with some contractors. But in my case, especially being able to travel to the States regularly, and every time I have a project on, I go and stay for a few weeks, and this is part of the commitment as managing the portfolio that I manage, is being able to go and be hands-on as well. So we establish relationship with other contractors that the third-party property manager does not have. So we manage them, but we need to coordinate the relationship and coordinate the work as it needs to be done, because they bring a little bit of the work and I bring another part, and then we make the end product, which is a rent-ready apartment in that case.
Right. So Hadar, I'm thankful for, like, you just listed those things out. It's amazing. That's just a great list for the listener and myself. As we are managing properties and thinking about, what's this asset manager, accountable for, or what are we accountable for if we don't have that person in a position like yourself? But, how do you what's the best way that you found to communicate? I mean, you're even, so much further away than most of us, from the property. But what's the best way to communicate that you found with your, your contractors and your property management team just on a regular basis?
I use two simple things. The first thing is email, and sometime more often than not, I use email and text with the property manager. It depends who I want to deal with. If I want to deal with the head PM, I usually I call him or text him or email. But if I need to get the lease updated and need to make sure that the apartment was cleaned, then I will email his assistant. So again, the pyramid, you got the property manager on top, then you got the property manager assistant. And I got the document. If any of your listener wants, if you want to, I'm happy to provide. So it kind of gives a broad of the asset management path, if you like, the plan. So I mainly do phone calls and emails with the property manager. With the contractor, my subcontractor that I use, again, it's a subcontractor that I use, that I initiate with, I use WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a great app that you can have on your mobile phone. And the reason I use WhatsApp is there are 2 or 3 reasons. First of all, and the most important reason, I am discovered myself as, if you like, I like to delegate things with speaking. So I like to pick the phone up and just shoot up a voice message like a walkie-talkie and say, hey, Eddie, how is it going? Did you manage to meet up the roofing contractor, or did you manage to sort out a few different things? Did you install the blinds? Did you arrange this, arrange that? And Eddie straight away comes back to me. He likes it again. Eddie's my maintenance guy. Now, he's a third party. He's billing me every month, but he's my maintenance guy. He's a great guy, and he does a lot of work for me. So he sends me videos as well. With WhatsApp, we can do like a FaceTime, or he take videos and then he can shoot it down to me on WhatsApp instantly. So that's
nice.
Just
that's so convenient when you're so far away, right? I mean, or any of us really, even if we were in the same town, it would keep me from having to make a trip down there if your maintenance guy could just send you a quick video.
Exactly. And another great thing about WhatsApp is no matter where you're going in the world, because we used, before COVID, we usually took as a family a trip, long vacations. Now the kids my daughter is in high school, so we have to go a little bit shorter, but typically we could have gone for 4 weeks, and if sometime a bit longer when the kids were a bit younger. The good thing about WhatsApp, that even if you go to a foreign country, if you've traveled overseas and you change your SIM card in your phone, you can still communicate as usually, because when we go to different countries, sometimes we want to change the SIM card so we can do local calls and data for a good price. With WhatsApp, everybody could communicate with regularly. There's no interruption. They don't have to ring different numbers. They don't have to do so. Everything is still there.
Wow, that's good to know. I didn't know that. That's good information to know right there, especially if you travel a lot and internationally. You had mentioned like keeping the property management team accountable for the services they're providing. But then also, I loved how you brought up that you may have to educate them on how you do things. Because the way you want things done may not be the way they've been doing it for other clients, right? And
Yeah.
do you have an example of that, Hadar?
Yes.
Do you have an example where you've had to train the management company on how you want something done differently than maybe they've done it before?
Yes, I got example, and I got still outstanding challenges, if you like, that I'm putting up with until I will be able to adjust them. One of the small challenges, for example, is knowing how to use a pet addendum. And when you deciding that you're going to take on maybe a dog or cat in your community, we have a specific requirement that we want to follow with anybody that wants to bring a dog in. So we don't just let any dog, any size and any breed. We wanted to have a specific pet addendum that stipulates their commitments as a resident, what they obliged to do if they bring in a pet, and also it's exactly obviously describing what pet they're allowed to bring. So that's number one. And also, for example, the pet fees. When do we want them paid? The pet rents, and how do we want them paid to us? They weren't used to collecting the $240 pet fees and distributing them as ancillary income or whatever you want to call it. That in the beginning, they thought it's just like a bond for the pet. And I say, no, hang on. This is an additional income for us. It's a one-off, non-refundable pet fee, So that's needed to be educated to them. And now it's good. So now I got them in the last few months, I'm refinancing a property, and I got a statement from them, 6 months trailing 12 and profit and loss, if you like. And I see all the pet fees coming in as something else. It was coming in as, I just dealt with it now. It was coming in like as a renovation refund or something like that. And I said, no, we need the line item to say exactly what it is. So in the end of the year, we can see we had, for example, $2,000 collected from pet fees, stuff like that. And another example is something which I wish they had, but at this point they're not, but we're dealing with it. And I'll tell you how we're dealing with it, is having all the statements and all the things registered on the platform that the asset manager and the landlord, if you like, able to log in and see things from his own, on the cloud, from his own side. At this point, I'm just getting monthly statement, which is kind of a scanned PDF. And I send that to my assistant, who is based in the Philippines, and she reconciliated on a Google Sheet. Every month we have January, February, March, April, and she puts the apartment name. She puts, obviously the names are already populated. She just puts the rent and apartments that are being turned. She records the new leases, and she record notes. For example, this one did not pay or was short a little bit in July, but here in August they paid a little bit more because they added what they were short on, and various things like that. Like we had a lot of existing residents when we bought the latest. I bought 45 units. We had a lot of residents that wanted to stay, and we agreed with them. And that was way before COVID. It was around January 1st. We agreed with them that in 6 months' time, the rent is going to go up from $450 to $550. So we've always made sure that there is a note. Mike's rent needs going up 1st of July, for example, to $550. So I need to monitor that, and then I go and property manager and I say, hey, did you increase Mike's rent to $550 on the 1st of July? So we are very important to utilize help. We can't do everything ourselves. So for me to be able to use an assistant, and I know you do as well, it's just a great thing because it helps you to streamline things. It makes life easier, and it makes you as a business owner able to focus on the things that create most value in your business. So
no doubt about it. I couldn't make it without them. Hadar, without different types of assistants and other people that are have specialized skills that I don't have, and that can assist me and us go a lot further, a lot faster. But on a just thinking about this position as asset manager, what are if you were knowing what you know now about an asset manager position, and you all were going to hire somebody for this position, what are some must-have skills or experiences that you would recommend for this individual to have if when a company's looking to hire somebody like yourself to fill that role?
I'm planning to answer this question, Whitney, but I want, if you don't mind, with your permission, I want to just give a few more tips about what asset manager needs to look for.
Please, let's do it.
As part of the roles that they do, because I think it's very, very important. And we had some, if you like, some difficulties in the beginning when we took over some properties, and it's things that I really want to point out. One of the most important things to point out that an asset manager should do is transfer the utilities. Transferring the utilities when you purchase a property, or even when a resident is moving, vacating, you want to make sure the utilities are transferred into the third-party property management company as soon as possible. Because my third-party property management company is managing close to 1,000 doors, and they don't have the time on the day when the resident is moving out to ring the electric company, spend 15 minutes on the phone waiting that they're going to answer, make sure that the electric is transferred so the contractor to come the next day, have electric there to start doing what they need to do, whether they do flooring, whether they do painting, or whether they do installing light fittings or whatever needs to be done. So utility transfer is very, very important, and I do that a lot. When I need to do it, I just pick up the phone and I do it. Another thing that we're doing, and we systemized it now, Whitney, and we're doing monitor lease renewal for every lease that is renewed. So when I purchased the property, I looked at the rent roll and I recorded which leases are month by month. Obviously, you go to them and you schedule perhaps to fix them. So we fixed those one up for 18 months, making sure it's not falling around Christmas or Thanksgiving. So we wanted to renew we found that February, March is a great time, or more towards the summer. So we refixed leases. But more importantly, we set up reminders for 60 days before a lease is expiring to receive an email that goes to me, my assistant, my property manager, and the property manager assistant. And that's scheduled automatically. And the way we did it is we used a great add-on that is a Google Sheet add-on, and it's called Add Reminders, and it's free. And my assistant—
Add Reminders.
Yes, Add Reminders, and I can share the link with you if you want at the end of this show, so you can link to it if you want. It's great, it's free, and 60 days before we received an email, apartment 206, Miss whatever her name is, rent this and this. She's got a bed, she doesn't have a bed, is expiring on this and this date, which it's 60 days in advance. That goes to the property manager. The property manager is triggering a communication to the resident to ask them if they want to renew. Because as an asset manager, for us, having a resident that is renewing their lease is much more profitable by going and having a vacancy, or even needing to paint the unit, refresh the unit to make it rent ready to the next resident. So Add Reminders is very, very important. Another thing we monitor is the marketing strategy. So again, we talked about what you need to educate your third-party property manager. My third-party property manager, they use their own website. They use Trulia, they use Zulio, maybe they use apartment.com. But I implemented Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace, I implemented that through the Facebook page that we created for the community. And we can also trigger, like when somebody is asking, hey, is this still available? We have an automatic response that says, yes, it's available. Please contact the listing agent. Here's the name, the company name, the number. And here is the link to a 3D walkthrough of the apartments. And then we put a disclosure that says, Yes, that we did it after COVID. It was great. And we put a reference there, and we have to do it because we don't want to be misleading. You can get in trouble with the local real estate authorities if you are misleading, showing pictures of an apartment that is not advertised for sale. In our case, all the apartments are 2-bedroom, 1-bath, exactly the same size. Some will have different finishes. So what we did, I put a disclosure over there. Please note, we have multiple units with multiple finishes. It might vary from the picture that you see, but the floor plan is the same. Please come and look when you're ready. So that's something that triggers automatically. Facebook Marketplace has been a game changer for us. My property manager is really getting overwhelmed by the inquiries, but I handle that because you know why? Because some residents or some potential residents will contact you, and you don't want. In the beginning, sometimes we get like 10, 15 inquiries a day on Facebook Marketplace. So I know that my property manager, the third-party property manager, will not respond to them as swiftly, as promptly as I would. So I do, apart from the first response that will trigger automatically, should answer the majority of the question. They got all the details there. They got the application form link, they got a 3D link, and the phone number to ring the manager if they want to schedule any showing or anything. But if there is other questions that they want to ask, then I'm there making sure that I'm answering the question.
Sounds like you're having to do a lot of the property management work as well,
I do. Yeah, I do. I do some, I don't have an in-house property management company. And that's why we are managing to take a property that had a 30% economic occupancy and about 25% vacancy, physical vacancy, and turn it around and increase the income by double the income, more than double the income in 8 months, because we grabbed the bull by the horn and we went all in. That's why.
Right.
And one of the things that I didn't like, if you like, and I noticed, was that the turnover from the minute somebody applies to the time when they get approved, if you like, to take an apartment on, was taking 2 weeks. It shouldn't be taking really, in reality, more than 7 days at the most. Once you get the credit check, background check, you do everything, you meet up with them and get them to sign the contract. Now, when COVID happened, and I made a point to mention it, was, hey, no more papers that they need to come to sign in the office, and they didn't come, they did come, excuses all the time. Let's use DocuSign, let's use HelloSign. Everything could be streamlined. So COVID had some effects that was actually beneficiary for the benefits for the, for our business as well, by streamlining more things. So, I do that full time. It's my property. Actually, this property I'm referring to, I self-funded it on my own, and I want to make sure it's stabilized as soon as possible, because it's very, very likely.
Of course, no doubt. And sounds like you're doing a good job at it, Hadar. It's just you called it grabbing the bull by the horns, and I think so much of entrepreneurship is that way, and sounds like you all have done that. And we're gonna have to move on to a few final questions, though. Just the asset manager position is so important, and just that you have systems in place and know what's happening right on the ground. What is there a specific tool that you use, or just to kind of record systems, or that or maybe whether it's KPIs or just that what's supposed to be done next? How do you track things like that?
Absolutely. I'm going to quickly go with this. One more thing that the project needs to do is asset manager needs to do is stay in touch with your lender. Your lender, read the financial, in terms of the financing available, make sure if you're going off, interest only to P&I and all those things, and maintain the lender's relationship. In our case, is the work of an asset manager. What makes a good asset manager? Leadership, storytelling, being able to, if you like, convey the story and the business plan to the property manager, to everybody is involved. And leadership, we talked about it, is basically managing the manager, managing contractor. Analytics skills, if you like, being able to review and the relevant KPIs, key performance indicators, understanding the rent roll. the occupancy rate, evictions, and bad debt. And very, very important, communication skill, the ability to communicate effectively with investors, property managers, lenders, and contractors. Now, the key performance indicator to your questions that we monitor regularly on a monthly basis are the rent collections. We monitor the income statements. We monitor the expenses. Again, we monitor income statements by the property manager, whatever the property manager he commissioned to be dealt with, and the subcontractor invoices. We monitor delinquencies, vacancies, how many are rent ready as well, so we know what we need to push, and of course the marketing. So those are the if you like, 6 elements: rent income coming in, rent roll, rent collection, expenses, delinquencies, which is bad debt, vacancy, rent ready apartments, and the marketing. Those are the 6 very important things that we
very important, no doubt about it. Tell me, Hadar, what's a way that you've recently improved your business that we could apply to our business?
One of the main thing that I applied and is systems. So we really try and systemize whatever we can, and we've done it with the real estate. In terms of asset management, we've done the ad reminder. We got an assistant that is looking over the statements and finding duplicate charges. We had one apartment that had 90 degrees. We had a 90 degrees heat wave, and the HVACs, broken down. With a big problem over there. We had to put the resident into a motel for a couple of nights. And I found out in the statement, she found out, and I, also looked over it, always looking over it, that I was, charged a little bit more by mistake, by the property management company. So again, systemizing, having a second eye, having an assistant. It's, as you know, it's like having an Hadar and a half, or 2 Hadars and a half working for you. You can do much more. So systemizing. And another thing we've done, and I've done it with the MIH Mastermind, and we really teach the students in the mastermind as well to do that in business and in life. If they want to scale, if they want to shift from single family to multifamily, very, very important to set yourself the goals and if you like, quarterly action plans. Very important. You see, you don't want to have plans that they are spread over 1 year or 5 years. You really want to have a quarterly action plan with 3 focus areas that you only focus on those 3 focus areas within the quarter. And you take those milestones to achieve and conquer those focus areas, then you progress to the next quarter and your business starts growing significantly.
No doubt about it. You definitely need some goals in place and or milestones or KPIs, things where you are tracking where you're going, right? If you're not tracking it, you're not going to know if you don't have that plan or some direction. Hadar, what's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
Persistent focus and avoiding the shiny object syndrome. Very, very important. This business is a tough business. Sometimes you can have big breaks before drinks. You can have a period of time that you can't find any deals, and you need to be persistent. You need to stay focused and avoid the shiny object syndrome. And that's part of the 5 elements that, we don't have time to talk about it today, but perhaps we can talk about it some other time. That's right. Very, very important to keep, because if you're giving up and you started looking somewhere else to try and maybe try and make money over there and trying to make money online marketing or whatever, different strategy, you're losing your focus. You're losing your momentum. And when you do have momentum, you have to keep it up. So it's very, very important in business, I think, those points.
How do you like to give back?
How do I like to give back? One of the ways that I like to give back, I have two main ways. The first way is that I always there for people who are interested in self-education, in if you like, I will say it, growing their knowledge with financial education, learning more about multifamily. We always try and say, I got people reaching out all the time. They want to have a 30-minute call or something like that, just to try and brainstorm to see if there's anything they can do to better their life. So we do that. We don't do it just as a paid in the mastermind, but also within the mastermind, we give extra than what we than what we actually committed with the student to give. We kind of always go on calls. We always do it for them. It's not a limited time, and that's it. So that's number one. The other thing I like to give back is that my wife and I, we like to travel to Asia a lot. So we have traveled to India quite a few times. We actually met in India. She's not Indian, but we met backpacking in India 20 years ago. And in one of our trips, on a bus, on a sleeper bus. In one of our trips to India, we met a rickshaw driver who ended up being a good friend. And my wife and I are committed to help him out and to make sure that his kids going to good schools and, will have a higher education. And we even helped him to fix his rickshaw and even buy another rickshaw, and which is a tuk-tuk, if somebody, three-wheel kind of taxi. So we get pleasure from helping him, and I personally get pleasure by helping other people to achieve their real estate goal through bettering their education as well.
Thank you, Hadar. No, that's incredible. Appreciate you giving back in that way and just giving back with your time to us today as well. And just highlighting the things that an asset manager needs to be good at, things you need to be checking. I mean, it's incredible you're just able to, you had these lists for us. So I think it's great for somebody that's a listener to be able to go back and document these things or see them in the show notes, these things that you've listed out that, hey, am I doing these things or not, to ensure that our property is performing like it should be. It's so important. Hadar, thank you again. How can the listeners get in touch with you and learn more about you?
Listener could visit our website, which is the MIHmastermind.com. They can reach us through the Contact Us page over there. And feel free to send me a message. If you like, there is also some free education there. You just go to the education tab. You can sign up there and receive we're sharing some videos. We're doing some me and my business partner, Marco, Gino's brother. We co-facilitate this mastermind. And if anybody wants to stay in our sphere and wants to follow up what we're doing and stay in touch, visit the MIH Mastermind website. Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.